the look of someone who forgot to look up the synopses prior to filming. Thank you, Goodreads, for fixing my bullshit. Hey y'all, I'm Hope, and today I'm starting my February TBR. I'm doing this really early, like it's literally January 3rd, but today I'm just going to be doing my 2 challenges for the month, and I'm doing this so I can get some stuff pre-filmed and hopefully free up a little additional time for reading this month, because I have a lot of stuff I want to get to. So first up, I'm going to go ahead and do my dice roll book. I got 2 8s, so I need the 8th 8 out of my spreadsheet. I'm going to leave that there so I don't forget. And then I have this card deck I need to pick from. I'm gonna go ahead and shuffle them a little bit. Put them up here so you can see me actually shuffling. Promise I'm not cheating. I took out the card that I got last month just so that I don't get the same card again, because I think that would be really boring. So yeah, that's the plan. And now I get to pick one. I'm always kind of scared because there's some weird ones in here. So I got the Crow of Judgment. I don't know if that's gonna focus or not, but it says Crow of Judgment. You're just gonna have to take my word for that. And the prompt for this one is actually one I really wanted to get this one for several months now, because I already know exactly what this book is gonna be. So hang on, let me figure out what the spreadsheet book is, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. And it turns out that the dice roll gave me Arsenic and Adobo by Mia Pimentel, which is a book I'm actually really excited for. This one is a kind of cozy food-based mystery. This follows Lila, I think it's Lila actually. She moves back home after a devastating breakup and ends up helping out at her Tito Rosie's kind of failing restaurant. And while she's there one day, this guy that's kind of her rival, he was an ex-boyfriend of hers, and then they really didn't get along after that. He's now a food critic, and he comes in to eat one day and he suddenly dies. And now the restaurant is under suspicion for one of them having murdered him. So they know somebody killed him, but they don't know who. So she gets involved with the investigation, and I believe there's also a kind of a love triangle going on here with the lawyer that is trying to help her and also the detective on the case. So I just think this sounds like a lot of fun. I love a good cozy mystery, and I did read a few pages of this. I started this a few months ago. I actually was like 50 pages in. I didn't even realize I was that far in. But I started this and I ended up setting it down because I was kind of in the middle of a slump and I just didn't want to pick it up at the time. But this actually works out really, really well, because I believe the sequel to this book comes out at the beginning of February, like the 1st or 2nd week of February. So it'd be really cool if I could get this one in before the sequel comes out. So that's a really good pick. And then for the other one, for the Crow of Judgment, it's actually a book I have as an ebook, but I'm going to be reading The Cardigans by, I believe his name is Cole McCade. I'll have to like look it up, I might be wrong on that. But this is a romantic mystery thriller story about these 2 detectives who are trying to solve a murder. That is literally all I know about it, but this book is the beginning of a series that I've been kind of interested in that is just like a massively long romance mystery series, and the whole thing is set up to be episodic, like each one is supposed to be like a TV episode, and I just think that sounds like a lot of fun, and I've been really wanting to try this. I can't remember if I said this, but the Crow of Judgment prompt is to read a book that you think will be a guilty pleasure, and I very much think that this is going to be that for me. I love a good mystery, and I've just kind of recently started reading a little bit of romance, mostly fantasy romance, but just the kind of episodic format of this series I think is going to really appeal to me, and I think I'm really gonna like it, and it's gonna be a guilty pleasure series. So that's for that. And now, flash to future Hope, who will tell you whatever else I'm gonna read in February, because that part I haven't figured out yet. And now it is later in the month, so I can actually finish my February TBR. I could have waited a little bit longer. It's the 21st of January, but I kind of have a plan already, so we're just gonna roll with it. So beyond the challenge books, the first thing I'd like to tackle is the illumicrate for January, which hasn't arrived yet. I think it's supposed to ship right at the end of the month, because they are actually including 2 books, and the release date for one of them is like actually February 1st, so I think they're shipping really late. But the hardback book for January they've announced is going to be This Woven Kingdom by Tahereh Mafi. I've never read any of her books, so it'll be interesting just to see how I feel about her writing, because I know that she's quite popular. But this particular one, the premise doesn't tell you much about the plot of the book, but I know it's an epic fantasy romance trilogy, the start of one, and it's going to have a girl who is the long-lost heir to an ancient kingdom who is hiding in plain sight as a servant, and then the crown prince of the current ruling family who is hearing prophecies foretelling the death of the king. and then there was something that happens and they're involved. And that's all I know. The other book that they're including is a paperback, and my best guess for this is it's going to be The Ivory Key by Akshaya Raman, which I'm actually really interested in. I had heard of this one before, and that one I believe is also the beginning of a series. I think it's a duology as opposed to a trilogy. I'm not certain of that, but I think. And this one is following 4 royal siblings who have to work together even though they hate each other in order to find an ancient magical artifact to help save their kingdom. So that should be fun as well. So then after the illumicrates, I also am trying to tackle both Buzzwordathon and TBR Knockout. And the Buzzwordathon theme for February is words like she, him, his, ours, theirs, we, your, etc. Words like that. I don't know the word for those words. Like, some of them are pronouns, but also some of them are ownership words. So that category. And at the moment it's looking like I'm not going to get to She Who Became the Sun in January, and I have another book that is much shorter that I'm going to fill in if I can't, but because that's for January's Buzzwordathon. But if I don't get to She Who Became the Sun in January, I'm going to read this for that prompt, because she. However, if I do get to She Who Became the Sun, my backup plan is to read Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong, which would be great because I would be finishing a duology. I'm actually currently working on the second book in a duology, so that would allow me to finish another one, and I would love to spend some time this year just finishing some series that I've started. But this one is the sequel to These Silent Delights, and I'm really fucking excited for this book because I really enjoyed the first one, and it ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger, so I am thrilled that I can dive into this one really soon. So I probably will try to get to this one soon anyway, even if this is my Buzzwordathon book, but I like that I have a couple of options here. And then for TBR Knockout, the first prompt is a book under 250 pages, and for that I'm planning to read Winter's Dawn by Arden Powell, which is the 3rd book in their Flows Magica series, which is a series of like alternate history 1920s fantasy romance stories, and the first 2 of them are just so sweet. I love both of them. This next one, Winter's Dawn, I think is supposed to be a bit darker. It's about 2 people who are both, I think, political prisoners. But I just really like Arden Powell's writing. Just gonna inhale my own saliva, that's awesome. Arden Powell's writing is very, I want to say it's kind of lush. Like, they do a great job of atmosphere and like it sounds weird, but like the physical parts of atmosphere. Like the Botanist Apprentice is set in the south of the US in like Georgia in the 1920s, and it's like in the middle of summer, and they've just done a really good job communicating like the sticky heat of the South. Like, I'm from the South, that's what it's like, and it's just really well done. So I am really excited to read this one as well, and it comes out in a few days actually, and it's only 88 pages, so it's definitely a book under 250 pages. And then the other TBR Knockout prompt is to read a short story collection, and I'm going to read Selected Stories by Anton Chekhov. I was originally going to do something with Sherlock Holmes for this, but it's been a while since I've read any Chekhov, and I love this. It's a nice short little book, and I just really enjoy Chekhov's writing. Again, it's another one that I don't really know how to explain, but the way he does characters, I just love. And again, it's very short, and it's like a satisfying little tiny book, which is nice because I have some bigger fantasy and mystery books on this TBR too. And then the one last thing that I would like to try and do in February is I'm once again attempting to participate in BookTube Spin, which is the 5th BookTube Spin, and every time I make a list, and every time I'm excited about it, and I've never read a single one of those books, even though I get really hyped every time. So this time around, Rick did 2 spins again, as he's done the last couple of times, and the first number that came up was number 8, which on my list was Strange Practice by Vivian Shaw, which is a like urban fantasy thing about Dr. Greta Helsing, who is a doctor for the undead and for monsters in modern London. And there's a murder mystery. Somebody starts killing people, both humans and monsters and the undead alike, and she ends up having to use her skill sets as a doctor to try and solve the mystery and prevent more deaths from happening. So I just think this sounds like it's going to be very charming and fun, and my friend read this and loved it, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to love it too. And then there's one more book which I actually forgot to grab, so bear with me for a second. Luckily, it's in the same room. The other number that came up was 13, and that's The Sinner and the Saint by Kevin Birmingham for me. And this one is a nonfiction book about the real-life murderer who inspired Dostoevsky when he wrote Raskolnikov. Oh, I'm struggling with names now too. Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment, which is one of my favorite books. This was a gift from my partner for Christmas, and I am very excited to read this one because, as I just said, Crime and Punishment is one of my favorite books, and I think this is going to be really fascinating because it appeals to both my love of that book and also my interest in, like, true crime, particularly, like, historical true crime, like, historical serial killers is really what I think is interesting. So I'm really excited to get to this one as well. So again, I'm always excited for BookTube Spin, and I never fucking read the books, but maybe this time I will. We'll see. But those are kind of all the solid plans I have. Somewhere in there I also need to read like a bunch of the Goodreads Choice books, which is a little bit dependent on library holds coming in because I've maxed out the number of holds that Libby will let me have. So I have like 6 books that I'm currently waiting to get. So need to read those, and that's fun because I keep getting ones and reading them and starting vlogs, but not having the other books to go in the vlogs with them. So someday those vlogs will come out when I get the other books. But for now I have like 5 half-started vlogs where I've read the first book, or I've read the first half of the books I needed to read, and I don't have the rest, so someday. But I will be filling in some of those, and I'm not putting them on a list because it's going to be very dependent on like what the library does, like what comes in, and yeah. That's a little more out of my control. But those are all of the books that I'm hoping to read in February. I am feeling pretty motivated to do this, partially because I've been having a really great reading month in January, so I'm pretty excited to dive into these. And yeah, I don't have a whole lot else to say, but I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing. I'm currently posting every Saturday, so there's more content coming soon. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!